Adriana Marchione, I'm so happy that you'll be with us this year again in the Expressive Arts Egypt Festival, this international festival that happens every year in September and October between online and in person. And we were honored to have you last year. And this year you will take us into a journey of moving through grief. And I believe that grief has so many levels and so many dimensions within ourselves, and it comes back in waves. So it's not only if someone is currently grieving a person, but it's also grieving parts of ourselves, right? And parts of our lives even sometimes. So can you please take us into a journey of just speaking a little bit about what would you create for us in this a meaningful time that we will spend with you?
Yeah, it's so good to, it's always good to be with you, Aisha. And I love what you create in the expressive arts and the creative space of learning and healing and transforming who we are. And grief is an ongoing process of really, in many ways, I think, awakening. I mean, there's so many points in our lives where we make a change or we lose someone in our lives, whether it's they pass away or they move out of our lives. You know, people experience divorce, people experience, relationships breaking apart. There's also losing a sense of home or actually losing our homes. There's just so many ways also transition with phases, like I said earlier, like different phases of life. For me, there's been moving into menopause and this second chapter of life. And I've worked with many people kind of experiencing that disorientation. And always the arts and our bodies, the way we move through life is this incredible resource to track what's happening, to listen more closely, and to envision what might come next.
Mm.
That with the loss, there's also a new beginning. And that doesn't in any way diminish that there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of heartbreak that we need to honor again and just really sit with, be with in the process.
Yes, wonderful. And I love that you're speaking of grief as this many different ways of grieving because and it doesn't have to look one way for everyone. So there is this creative way of being with grief as well, that it becomes a creative way of living, not only something that we would do in this time that we're spending together.
Yeah. And I think of healing as a spiral,
Yeah.
symbolically, that we continue to move through and hopefully a feeling of evolution
Mm.
as we age, as we heal, but that it is hitting the same pain. We
Mm.
have these scars that we move through in life with the things that we suffer from, the things that we experience that are difficult. And rather than linear, it's not linear. We don't just, you know, that
Move
trajectory
out
to
of it.
right, that it's like, and next we're done, we're in a perfect place of harmony. That we have to really feel that movement, feel that, trust it. And when we hit again that pain of loss, like losing a loved one or having an anniversary of a painful experience, that these are moments where we can create rituals. We can really bring the art forward. We
Mm.
can really listen to how our body wants to be tended to. So to me, that's part of what I really want to support people with in this workshop is finding those resources to do it with grace, to move through grief, move through transition with grace.
Beautiful. And I love that this is so much connected to our theme, honoring the roots and blossoming into the future, because I feel if we are thinking of healing as moving from point A to B, as you're saying about the linear movement to healing that people think that it is, it wouldn't honor really what was there and what have been, what are the roots and where this come from, and like honoring what have been so we can come into becoming with a healthier version of ourselves.
Yeah, that's a great way to say it. that there is this opportunity to keep shifting and feeling more of that truth
Mm.
of who we are. We get to, for me, I just continue to shed old ways of being, shed some old pain so that I can be more of service in the world. I can do the work that's more effective and supportive to others that I, whether it's students or clients or just people I meet in life, but also so I can feel more soulfully connected to nature, to my day to day, and to my creativity.
Has so much compassion just hearing how we be with grief, compassion towards ourselves and our wounds, which I believe is one of the very important things, how we are speaking internally, that vertical connection between ourselves and ourselves, so we can be kinder to each other as well.
Yeah, and there's something I read recently, a some spiritual texts that I was reading, and they were talking about suffering and compassion.
Mm.
And in so many ways, to me, when we go through struggle, difficulty, pain, we go through suffering, that if we marry it with compassion, that it's a very different experience than we feel guilt or we feel like we're critical of ourselves or we stuff down our feelings. That bringing that compassion in is actually a very creative act as well because we're expressing ourselves. We're telling the truth through the art, through the movement, through the writing.
There will also be one of your films that you are gifting to everyone who's attending, that they watch before your workshop. So can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, for me, one of the threads of my art life and also my expressive arts expression through the years is I started making documentary films. It's been about 13 years now that I've been doing that. And my first film, which is the film we're going to show, or share, is called When the Fall Comes. And it's a short documentary actually about my own experience moving through grief after my husband passed away, and then my father soon after. And I created a performance ritual for myself that I shared with the community, and then ended up bringing it out many more times into the general public. And it was documenting that experience and really talking in general about how the arts support grief. So I've created the film to help others moving through grief, to share also about the power of the arts. So I'm really thrilled that we can marry that in this workshop experience.
Yes, because it's another art form that for you to be with yourself and filming yourself and then looking back at it, it brings a different depth to the experience, of course.
Yeah, it expands the way we can just think about possibilities. So for me, it was modeling, like I'm showing a way through, and then after people have watched the film, many people have come to me and we've created a performance ritual for their grief.
Mm.
So it's just giving resources again, things to consider that we can use the arts, how they can support us.
Beautiful. Thank you again for being with us in the International Expressive Arts Festival in Egypt and online. And we're happy to have you with us online this year. And hopefully, in coming years, you would be with us in person in Cairo, Egypt as well, Adriana. Thank you so
Thank you.
much for your time and all the beauty that you spread in the world.
Thank you, Aisha. I look forward to seeing people through the festival.
Thank you again.
Grief is it's hard to feel.
I think we all have to deal with this path sometime, that all of us will face loss.
She had two significant people in a relatively short period of time pass away back to back. One, and then you're sort of coming above water a little bit, and all of a sudden there's another big one.
If grieving is done well, we look the anxiety, the death anxiety, into its eye and move with it, move through it.
It was this idea that when the fall comes, when we fall apart, when someone literally, their health falls apart, their life falls apart, they fall out of this life. What do we do when that happens? What do we do when the bottom drops out?